what it was like just getting, what did you feel like when you were getting ready for an icebreaker speech? If you can remember back that far.
Well, the icebreaker speech is not that difficult because you're talking about yourself, and who's the best subject to talk about yourself but yourself. So it worked out really well. The problem was I had to work on the timing because it's only 4 to 6 minutes. When you're first doing your first speech, it seems like such a long time, 4 to 6 minutes. But the older you are, the more you have to talk about yourself because your life is a lot longer. So to break it down and cut it down and make it into a 4 to 6 minute speech actually was quite hard part. I had to start taking things out and deciding, first of all, what was my title going to be. And on mine, I picked a saying that my mom used to tell me when things were going hard or difficult in my life. She'd say, "You're from good, strong peasant stock." She was born in Scotland and my dad was born in Ireland, and they were both very poor. And eventually they both moved to England where they were raised. So they didn't have any money and they didn't have much money when they raised us. But you could always find ways to better your life, and I saw that in my parents' example. So I had to cut that down to certain things, maybe pick on 3 certain things in my life that made me bring up that saying about how I'm from good, strong peasant stock. So I topped on those 3 important things. Or maybe you want to do one important thing that incorporates your life so far that would show people what your life was like growing up. Like one last week, this gal did one on how art was important to her life and to her whole being, and now she's working in a field where art's important to her. But she brought it from when she was a child up to her adulthood and present time. It was really a beautiful speech, and she showed us beautiful paintings that she had painted that were just inspiring. The thing is, though, when you talk about something that you're really familiar with, you have a chance to be really involved in that subject matter, and I found that going on my speeches further on, that I would pick something I was passionate about, and then I could talk forever on it. I just had to break it down and cut it shorter. So that's the thing about doing the icebreaker speech, is you feel so scared about doing it because it's the first time you may be spoken in front of a group of people that you don't know them. But you know you're in a very safe environment, and at the same time, too, if you really mess it up, you can only get better.
So were you at all concerned about getting feedback, knowing that that was part of the process?
I was a little worried about getting feedback, but at the same time, too, I know that the Toastmasters is a very safe environment, and people usually say really good things about you because they want you to say really good things about them when they do their speeches as well. They might have 1 or 2 things to say of an improvement. I notice sometimes in icebreaker speeches, people hold their notes like in their hand, and you're a bit nervous anyway, so like their hands are shaking, and so it's kind of hard for people to get that out of their mind when they're seeing you holding the notes. So I said, if you're going to bring up notes, just bring them up and maybe put them on a podium next to you and glance at them if you need to. You have like maybe a topic thing of little notes that are really big and bold on your 3 points, and then you can glance over at that if you get stumped. But at the same time, too, I didn't feel anything about as far as feeling too nervous about people giving me an evaluation on my speech, because I know it was a really safe environment.
All right.
And they're very encouraging.
And if there was one thing that you could tell a person who is preparing for an icebreaker, to either a relaxation tip or something in how you prepare for it or whatever, do you think that might be helpful to them in preparing for that particular speech?
Well, I did a practice speech in front of my husband. I also could practice in front of a mirror, but I don't feel really comfortable looking at myself. So even though I'm being filmed right now, I don't have to look at myself in the camera. So that's nice to know. But also to practicing it to and from work. I could say it out loud in the car and time it on the clock in my car. I've done that. That's what I've done with all my speeches. And then just making your date, set your date to do it. Maybe a month out, and then the week before, you're just so ready to get it over with because you've been practicing it enough. and you're just ready to move on to the next thing. So it's a really good thing to have those tips of practicing it and timing it.
All right. Thank you, Maggie.
You're welcome, Julie.